Welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. It's nice to see you again. We're back. We've got John Reilly, Saul Klein. John looks like he's in space with a cool plasma background, and Saul looks like he's in 1971.
I am.
You guys are travelers. I love it. All right. There's always something to talk about, whether it's Zillow or Compass right now, or NAR, or the new competitor to NAR all of a sudden, which I want to talk to you guys about. But I want to start with an article that you guys wrote, and I'm going to put the link up to it. But first, let me share what I'm referring to, and that's Industry Crossroads, the Data Advocate editorial series. You guys wrote this about 5 days ago or so, 6 days ago. And you start off by telling us, welcome to the industry crossroads. What does that mean to you? Who wants to take this on? And before I get there, great job on the schema for this so that the AI overview can pick it up on Google. Good job, guys. I don't know that you did it intentionally, but it looks good. But who wants to take the crossroads? What crossroads are we at? What are we talking about here?
Well, I'll let John start, and then I'll add in.
And let me put this into the chat really quick. All right, there we go. And
Well,
I'm not sure that go ahead.
yeah, there are a lot of places where you can find news as to what is happening. But where we found that there were some white spaces, there wasn't a place where you could actually have editorials in which you can take a larger view of how whatever this event was, whatever the news was, is going to have an impact throughout the industry and
That's
how it
interesting.
impacts MLSs and portals and brokerages. So that's what the Crossroads is going to do. It's going to be a regular series, and it's a section within the data advocate itself,
Hmm.
but it's going to have kind of its own life. It's going to provide an overview. There's going to be a lot of deep research behind it, and then from the research, it's going to then drill down and make it a more understandable and digestible uh, uh, editorial. And I know that Saul does a tremendous amount of research, and then we
Hmm.
will be filtering a lot of that down into kind of a digest formula. So we'll be
That's
coming out with
interesting.
a regular series on that.
All right, good.
So,
I like that because this is what we're about too. We need to
Right.
understand all of the news that goes out there. It feels like noise. And if we don't put a reason behind the information, we can either lose the importance of it and then miss an opportunity, right? Or
Hmm.
we can pay attention to the wrong thing that didn't really matter, right? And sometimes we don't know. So I'd like to start off with that just by asking you guys, like, when I take a look at this, American Real Estate Association, right? And both of these guys are my friends, but I want to understand the possible ramifications. What can happen? Why is this important? Why should we not pay attention to that Facebook comment that says, "This is stupid, go prospect"?
yeah, so I want to let jump in first, and I want to just take what John had said and add a little bit to that. And so, because you get lots of news, it's almost
Yeah.
overwhelming. And people don't know how to put the news. It's not that they don't know how, it's like it's not easy to take the news and put it in the context of your business and your life. And so what we've done
Yep.
is we've identified these areas that we think we can fit news into, like these five major areas. And if we can fit different news articles into these five different areas, we can help people begin to see things. And we don't want to do this from this is us and this is the right way. We want to introduce concepts editorially and then get input from people and
Yeah.
kind of build this community where we get community created content, where we get feet on the street ideas around these five major areas. Litigation, of which we know there's a ton of it. We won't
A
go
lot.
over all of it now, but there's a ton of it. And then we know regulation. Well, there's a lot of regulation. There's the Department of Justice and the FTC, and so we need to pay attention to the regulation as we need to pay
Hmm.
attention to the litigation. We need to pay attention to the to the legislation because something like 5 states are legislating when and you should put your listings into the MLS or what's public and what's not public display. So legislation, consolidation, where we see brokerage firms consolidating, and LP, a number of them, right? And associations of realtors consolidating, multiple listing services consolidating. So there's consolidation, and then there's innovation, and in particular, the AI. I know, Tristan, you teach a lot about AI and the use of AI in your business. So as we look at those 5 areas, and then we look at the news with those 5 things in mind, John and I are glad to share our opinions on these things, but what we want to do is invite people and hear what their opinions are. And you're right, more than just this is stupid, don't do it, right?
It's right on. That's it, right? Because this isn't going to slow down everybody. We're in the middle of a, I love the word crossroads, right? But we're in the middle of this change in our industry where we're going to see a lot more litigation, and sometimes it's too early to pay attention to it, and sometimes it's not. But then we're also going to get a lot more mergers, a lot more tech coming out because it's a lot easier. And then the challenge too, how the world works in our world and why that's important, right? Things like this, like according to you, Saul or John, is this even important? Should I pay attention to this or not?
I think it's if it's not important, it certainly is interesting.
You know, Saul just published an article on what he called the second association. He labeled it, and he
Okay.
comments on this thing that you want to bring up now, Tristan.
Yeah, so I think so. First of all, people talk about challenging NAR. NAR is an old organization. It's been around for a long time. It has a lot of resources. I'm a dedicated, loyal realtor, have been for 50 years. I'm a realtor emeritus. And when people would bring that up, I'd say, well, I don't think it has a chance. I don't think new entities have a chance. So when this new entity, I think it was AREA and now it's ARA, well, they might have had celebrities, but to me, they didn't really have a chance because NAR is a behemoth. But with the partnering with Compass and all
Mm-hmm.
of the people that that brings, if you can offer memberships at no cost or very low cost, that takes down the entry level. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you look at certain states and trends where you don't need to be a realtor to access the MLS, and then you look at the challenges to the three-way agreement and the
Mm-hmm.
distaste that some people have for the three-way agreement. For those people who
Yeah.
don't know, the three-way agreement is you can't just join a local association of realtors. You can't
Mm-hmm.
just join the National Association of Realtors. You can't just join your state association. When you join one, you join all three. You pay your dues at the local level. The dues are then distributed to your state and to the national level. And that's the three-way agreement. And when we look at litigation, NAR typically wins these cases, but it doesn't mean they
Mm-hmm.
will forever. And a lot of times people tell you that the reason they're a realtor is they get access to the MLS. And if they're not a realtor, they can't access the MLS. Well, we know in by law in 4 states, California, Florida, Alabama, and Georgia, you don't have to be a realtor to access the MLS. And then in other states, we know that voluntarily you don't have to be a realtor to access the MLS, but association brings power. And now with a couple 100,000 people maybe looking at joining this alternative, I think that could have an impact on NAR. So if not important, it's certainly interesting.
I think here, and then I want to go to you guys on something. Let's stick with this for a couple more minutes, just so I understand it better. I I see what's happening, right? I saw it before because the one of the people who started this is with Compass, so of course they're going to present it to Compass. Compass is like, this is a great idea because we don't agree with NAR and everything that they're doing, the way they're doing it, right? We've been looking for an alternative. Now Compass then goes in and gets these legacy brands with hundreds of thousands of real estate agents, right? Now you see where this is going, right? We can change how the industry functions by creating our own, even though it's not our own type of NAR, right? Because we have influence over it, right? Whether we want to believe it or not, they do. So now we have this, what is it called? ARA? Is that what it's called?
ARA.
Yeah. We have ARA who's now going to, how I see it, going to add all of the Compass agents, including Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, C21, um, Better Homes and Gardens, and now Remax on top of that. Like Remax is over 100,000 agents, right? So we're
Yeah.
looking at over 400, almost 500,000 agents where they're heading. That definitely allows them to have a lot more leverage, right? But my question is, what do they offer us? Like, what are they offering?
Well, one thing they offer to agents is a low $20 fee.
Yeah, but what are we getting for the $20 fee
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now,
right.
John? That's my question. Like,
Well, so in some states, Tristan, what you get is the right to join the MLS.
got
Because
it.
there's still states where if you're not a member, if you're not a realtor, you cannot access the MLS. And so that's one thing you get by being a member of NAR that you won't
Okay.
get by joining this. But you asked the right question. And it's like, what benefits
Yeah.
does this organization bring? And I would say, if I were on their board of directors or if I were helping them with their strategic planning, I would say, look at some of the things NAR does and see if you can do it better. I'd say look at education, look at legislative advocacy,
Mm-hmm.
look at professionalism, look at um, what helps agents be better in their business. Look at
Got
building.
it.
I don't know that they have or haven't come up with all these things, but those are the things that an association would typically offer to its
Yeah.
members.
Yeah. And look, I don't know where it's heading, and then I'll pivot to something different, right? But for me, when I'm looking at this, my concern is who's behind it, meaning where is this heading and why, right? And the reasoning that I'm seeing is, well, if Compass is backing it, obviously we know what Compass's plan is based on everything they're doing and the lawsuits they're bringing on, right? We know where they want to go. And how does that, to me, this is why it's important. Where does that change? How does that change our industry, right? Because outside of Compass backing ARA really kind of like fails, right? ARA doesn't go anywhere. Right. Yeah, they got Remax, but I can tell you they probably got Remax because they had Compass's backing and said, yeah, we're next. Don't worry, jump in. Now, this is all speculation from my end, right? None of this is like fact. It's just an opinion. But that's my concern. Who's backing this? All right.
Yeah, so
Now,
I think it was, so you're right. It's important for people to look to see how this would benefit them in their own business and their own practice because there
yep.
is no need at this point for a second association. There might be a desire for a second association, but whether or not there's a need, I think they need to develop a compelling
Mm,
argument for
yeah.
what it is they're going to bring to the industry. And then if they're backed by forces that other people think are contrary to what they believe, then that's
Yeah.
going to deter membership, I think.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I think let's keep an eye on this one to see how our industry changes when you have two. And I believe that competition's great, by the way. But we'll see. I think we're going to see some changes. Okay, John, what's going on in the litigation world that connects to real estate directly? What should we be concerned about here?
Well, we've talked about a lawsuit that was brought against Zillow by CoStar. And
Yep.
that was initially it was, hey, you're legally, you're not legally displaying the listings with the fee that we give you. It was an
Yeah, I
ownership
remember that.
issue. But now it's expanded because of the fact that Zillow has taken that and they have been taking the feed and sending it to other companies that are developing products through, AI generated products. And they're taking that they might take an image of the inside of a house and suddenly use it for floor plans, products or other type of products where they're going to be seeing what kind of a refrigerator you use. And you're
Yeah.
using the power of AI generated to have this. So is that a derivative use that's permitted or not? So basically,
Interesting.
underlying going to be what MLSs are doing now. They have to review not only their participation rights involving copyright ownership, but also licensing, downstream redistribution, and of course, AI usage permissions. Are those going to have to be now embedded into the MLS rules? And that's where I see there's going to be a lot of discussions in the MLS community in that arena, because that's
Very
what
interesting.
CoStar's raising in the lawsuit. They're raising these issues.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, who owns, if I take this all the way through and I take a look at what social media has done with images or videos, right? I can take this all the way through and say, well, who owns the images? Because those images that I'm about to post up, I can put a tag to the refrigerator, to the table, and then all of a sudden I can make some money off of it if you click on it and you order that refrigerator from Best Buy, right? So
You
who
got
gets
it.
those
Mhm.
funds,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, I like that. So where are we
I
with
think
that? Oh, go ahead, John. I mean, Saul.
just kind of a side note, as you look at this is again giants fighting giants.
Yeah.
And it's important when you see all the giants coming into litigation at the same time. And so the giants like Zillow and the giants like CoStar and the giants like Compass and the giants, I raise like all these giant entities, billion-dollar entities now
Hmm.
are engaged in costly litigation. And that's got to take us back to this concept that we're at a crossroads.
Yeah, and we are, man. There's so much like data is now being used for things we weren't really prepared for, but it doesn't matter because change doesn't wait for you to be prepared. Side note, I've got a question for you guys. You guys have heard of, and then I'll come back to you on lawsuits. You guys have heard of the Kelly Blue Book and now how they're trying to do the home referral program or giving you a value on your home and then sending you to an agent. Did you guys hear about that or no?
I haven't heard about that, but I'm really familiar with the Kelly Blue Book.
Yeah, everybody is. Let me look it up and then I'll pop it up here. Here it is.
But it's
Perfect.
it's kind of interesting because Kelly Blue Book's all about valuation,
Right? So
right?
here. Uh Pam saw it. Yeah, I saw it on Facebook. Isn't this crazy? So I want to know what you guys think about this. Obviously, we'll see, but Kelly Blue Book Homes, Kelly knows homes too, right? And I think it's interesting enough to personally, I would say give it a shot as an agent, right? Agents right here. Claim your shot. I'll put the link up because I know some agents will want to test it out. But what do you guys think just first time seeing this? What's your
Well,
feeling?
without reading anything about
Yeah,
it,
without reading anything.
the first thing I think of is valuations, because that's what they're famous for. And then I think, well, where do they get the data to come up with valuations?
They get it from the MLS, Saul. I think it's a
So,
good idea. I think
and,
it's a
and,
good
and
idea.
where did, when Zillow first got started, what was the major draw to Zillow? Valuations.
That's
They
so
call them
funny.
estimates, right?
Yeah.
And
I love
so,
that. I love the quick correlation, Saul. I love that. I love that you see that. They're using an agent, right? And this is where they're at. So they're going to send it to us. The difference is that they're putting an agent in the middle for more accuracy. But of course, um, they're going to charge us for it, right?
Well, Saul,
Uh,
I think you remember that there was a company that was involved heavily with doing estimates for repairs and improvements to it, and you could actually use that to then hook up with the contractor, and you would have very accurate estimates of what your costs would be. Blue Hammer, I think that was the company.
Yeah. But I would look for this. I'd look to see when is Kelly Blue Book going to become a real estate broker in every state so they can access MLS data
you're
via
so funny.
IDX or VOW and then build their business model on the backs of all of the information collected by all the realtors and real estate
Wait,
agents in the
are you talking
country.
about Zillow 2.0? That's what everybody wants to do now, right? I think only a handful of companies actually have a shot at that. One of those is Google, obviously, right? I don't know that Kelly Blue Book has that shot, but they're taking it. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
And you know what? Their name might work against them because everybody relates
Cars.
it to cars.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's see how it goes. Okay, John, back to you. What other litigation? We've got 8 minutes. What should we be worried about? Or maybe at
Well, I
least pay
think we're
attention to?
yeah. Well, I recall doing a search of lawsuits that NAR has been involved in, and I couldn't possibly look up all of those lawsuits. There's so much going on
That's
that
so
are in
funny.
the pending stage. And once they, however, get past the motion to dismiss and you're into the litigation itself, and people are now having depositions and stuff, that's when the cases become more interesting. And when we're alerted to something along that, that's the type of content that's going to go in the data advocate and also the new crossroads to see the impact uh, from people who are owners of brokerages down to the agents.
Well, then,
Didn't we see recently the House Judiciary Committee, a Democrat and Republican, actually sent letters to the CEO of MRED and the CEO of Compass by August 5th, which is tomorrow, kind of
mm,
finding out what their ideas are behind holding properties offline, right? Or keeping them from the public. And so that's another that falls in the legislation. Now the federal government, at least in one committee in Congress,
yeah.
interesting in looking at this dispute that's going on between MRED and right. Isn't that something we saw
Yeah,
recently?
actually, hold on. I was trying to log in, but the New York Times is giving me a problem because they want me to pay for it, and I'm not going to pay for it. So let me see which one I wanted to showcase. It was a Congress, which is having a, let me see here, Congress. So we can talk about this a little bit. Oh, there. Maybe Congress probe private listing deal between Compass and Chicago multiple listing service. That's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So where are we with that? What should we be worried about? And is Congress actually going to do anything? Because I don't know that they ever really do. Or if they do, it's too late.
Yeah.
But, but, I'm not into politics. So
Tomorrow, isn't it August 5th? They're looking for a response from the
what
two
are they
CEOs.
looking to get? What type of response and what happens next?
To me, when I see that they're even interested, it's because they don't like the idea of listings being withheld. Now, I don't know that that's true, but that's what I would speculate. When I read this, that's what I speculated.
Got it. I see what you're saying because you read here. Hold on, let me highlight this really quick.
Yeah, it's an antitrust concern.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. That makes sense. I mean, if it's an antitrust concern there, do you think that this could open up the door if it continues this way, specifically for this situation, right? Congress, Compass, Chicago, MLS. Does this open up the door for after what happens here? If it goes in the direction of, oh, yes, it was antitrust, then
One of the
why
things that
why
we
wouldn't they look at, and this is just a question for you guys, why wouldn't Congress then look at Compass, Coldwell Banker, C21, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Gardens? Why wouldn't they look at that deal and how that went down?
I don't know that they wouldn't at this point, Tristan. That's a good point. So when you've got more eyes now, because we've said this for a while, the industry's at a crossroads. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of inconsistency. There's a lot of misunderstanding. And when that happens, that's the opening the door for the government to kind of step in, right? Haven't we been talking about
That's
this? And
that's
this to me
so
is
true.
just all of a sudden now eyeballs at the next level are starting to look at one issue, but that doesn't mean that they won't look at or that they aren't looking at other issues.
That's so true. Jeff has a great comment. Where was it? Headline. Wait, no. Who was the one that put the headline? Oh, David. David. Headline in 2027. Compass buys Zillow for millions lower than their estimate. That's actually funny, man. That's really good, David. That's very funny. John, we got 3 minutes. Where do you think we go from here with MRED? I mean, it's going to happen in the next few days. At least we'll get more clarity. But where do you think we go from here with this whole MRED Compass Zillow situation?
That one we have to follow. We also have to follow what type of consolidations are happening, in the brokerage community. I want to follow something I just read about Howard Hanna and his approach in trying to develop a partnership with a company in Maine, I think that it was, and his offering was that they would have sharing their listings, but there wouldn't be any type of governance change. In other words, the brokerage that's acquired under this partnership
Hmm.
would they could still run under their existing rules. So it's an interesting approach that I'm seeing. That's one that I want to follow a little bit closely.
Hmm. I agree with that. I like their approach. I was reading about that, and I'll leave you with this, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit more in 2 weeks. But first of all, before we end, guys, because we've got 2 minutes, thanks for showing up. We got about 100 of you on here. We do this every 2 weeks, about. So just watch out for that registration link. Show up. We're always giving you the update on what's next or what's happening, how to interpret it, so that you know if it affects you on a business local level or not. But my question to both of you, LPT announced that they are going to do an IPO. What are your
Yeah.
first thoughts on that? My first thought or question to myself was, is it the right time for that based on what I'm watching happen with everything in the real estate and stock market world? Is it the right time? That's my question. But what about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, when I first saw that, I just again thought there's lots of opportunity. There's a lot of downside that we see in the changes that are taking place, but there's lots of opportunity. And if companies are talking about IPOs with the stock market and the stocks of other real estate brokerages doing what they're doing, they must see some benefit. And then I did a little bit of research into LPT and their technology stack and the platform and what they offer and to whom they offer it. And who am I to question what they're doing? But again, I think that
Yeah,
people see the opportunity in all this change, and we're not done seeing consolidation or
not at
growth
all.
unless the government gets involved and says there's too much of it, antitrust, right? So I was surprised to see that too, but it's nothing. You can't rule anything out these days,
I
right?
don't, man. I'm like, at this point, I don't know what world we're in, but I do my best with you guys to try to interpret what this means for us. And sometimes I have to pause and tell myself, hey, I don't know what's happening here. I'm just going to wait to see.
Hey, so
So
one thing before we go, I want to mention because I know you're big in this. You deal in AI, but as we look at MCP servers and entities offering connecting MCP servers with MLS data, where you can attach your own large language model to it to be able to do things you couldn't do before. I think that's in the innovation area where we're going to see
yeah,
lots of changes to the way people practice real estate. I know in San
dude,
Diego, we're looking at an MCP server and taking the information that's already publicly available feeding it into the MCP server and letting people hook Claude up to it or their
I
own
mean, dude,
LLM, right?
why wouldn't you? I'm
Yeah,
glad that you guys are doing that because when I see CRMs, when I see software technology in real estate, when I see MLSs not willing to do that, it raises the question. It's like, what are you scared of? Because you're preventing the inevitable. Somebody else is going to do it. And then you're going to look back and say, I wish I had done it. So
yeah,
everyone should give access in some way, even if it's paid access. I don't care to what we want to do and we want to build. Because at the end of the day, you guys are all tuning in here to better understand the world we're in real estate so that you can serve your clients better. That's it. That's all we want to do. And this, what Saul just said, this allows me, Saul, to serve my client better, faster. I don't want to jump into the MLS and be like, let's go through the MLS backend to try to figure out how to do what I want to do. If I could just tell it,
yep.
hey, get me this. Every Monday morning, I need this done. Great. So I love that you guys are doing that. Saul, John, thank you. Guys, tune in 2 weeks. The update, we're on YouTube as well. And please jump into the Data Advocate. Wait, no, is it the Data Advocate? Did I get it wrong, guys? The data, the
TheDataAdvocate.com.
dataadvocate.com. Perfect. I was right. Thanks, John. Have fun in Hawaii. I know you live there, so just have fun.
Good
And
to see you.
Saul, have fun in 1971, buddy.
Hey, it was a great year.
Thanks, everybody.